Can you see the screen now? Can anyone of you respond? Okay. So today we are going to talk about marshalling in the .NET environment. So marshalling is nothing but we are going to transfer an object from one environment to another environment. You want to transfer an object from a client machine to a server machine, or you have two different servers running. You want to transfer an object from one server to another server, then we call that process as marshalling. Now when I say we are going to transfer objects from one environment to another environment, it can be any of this. So environment may be an application domain. So you transfer data from one application domain to another application domain, or you may be transferring data or an object from one machine to another machine, or from one network to another network, or maybe in the same machine you are running more than one processes and you want to transfer an object from one process to another process. Then we call it as marshalling. So transforming or serializing data from one application domain and exporting it to another application domain is what you call as marshalling. Right? This was the doubt asked by Udaya when we talked about serializable attribute. Right? Do you remember serializable attribute? She asked like what is the role of serializable. So whenever I am going to marshal the object, whatever object you want to transfer from one environment to another environment, you are going to set the object as a serializable object so that it can be transferred to a remote machine, right? And it is generally used in the client server architecture or maybe in the distributed environment. When I say client server architecture, the client is requesting and the server is responding, whereas in the distributed environment, I told you two servers are there. You want to transfer an object from one server to another server, then you call it as distributed environment. So one task itself, you have one task which is to be completed by more than one servers connected in your environment, then you call it as distributed environment. So in client server environment or in the distributed environment, obviously you need to transfer object from one environment to another environment, which you call as marshalling. So you can say marshalling is the process of creating a bridge between managed code and unmanaged code. When I am going to transfer object from one environment to another environment, the second environment need not be having a managed code, it may be having an unmanaged code. If so, obviously you need the marshalling process. So it is not always transferring the object in the unmanaged environment, but in the managed code itself. So you have this side one application running with managed code, another side also the application running with managed code, then also it is called as the marshalling, but mainly it is used for bridging the gap between the managed code and the unmanaged code, because whatever application you are going to develop, that becomes a managed code because you are going to do it in the .NET environment. Maybe when you are going to transfer the object to another environment, the other environment need not be having the managed code. It may not be developed in the .NET environment. So that may be in the unmanaged code. So to bridge this gap, obviously we can use the marshalling. And it is the object, the marshaled object is the one that carries the messages from the managed to unmanaged environment and vice versa also. Now, the marshalling is one of the core services offered by the Common Language Runtime. So, apart from managing the assemblies, managing the versioning, the CLR is also playing the role of handling the marshaled objects. And all the .NET code, we call it as managed code. All the other codes are called as unmanaged code. We have seen in the .NET architecture, if a source code is compiled using .NET compliant compiler, then it becomes an assembly, which is known as the managed code. Whereas if you are not having .NET compatible compiler, the other one becomes the unmanaged code. So whichever code is not controlled by the common language runtime becomes the unmanaged one, and whichever code is managed by the common language runtime is called as managed code. I hope all of you remember the architecture diagram. Only the managed codes are getting into the common language runtime, whereas unmanaged code is directly going to the operating system, whereas managed code is going through the common language runtime to the operating system. So this is what is just a diagrammatic representation of whenever you have managed code and unmanaged code, you can have the interaction between them using the marshalling process. So in the managed code, you may be having a data type something like this. This data type may be converted into another data type in the unmanaged code as double word, right? So unsigned integer 32 bits, unsigned integer 32-bit object can be marshaled and it can be transferred to another environment, which is an unmanaged code environment, in the form of double word, right? The same way, from the unmanaged code, the double word can be transformed or transferred to the managed code environment as an unsigned integer 32-bit. This is what you call as marshalling. So if I want to transfer an object which is of 32 bits integer into another environment, you need the marshalling process. So you can say marshalling is the act of taking data from the environment you are in and exporting it to another environment. So in the context of .NET, marshalling refers to moving data outside the application domain you are in and somewhere else. So that is what is depicted in the diagram, and that is also depicted here. You have the managed C# source code. You will have a .NET compiler which will be generating the intermediate language code. You call it a C# assembly, and this intermediate language code is the one called as managed code, and this managed code is managed by the common language runtime, and this can be communicating to an unmanaged code environment. The unmanaged code environment will be in .dll, and you can see here it is specified as interoperable boundary. Interoperable boundary. Now when I say interoperability, we have discussed in the features of C# environment as interoperable environment. Interoperable boundary. You can see here the interoperability is one of the very important features of the C# environment. So your C# code, this is your C# code, can communicate to a Visual Basic code which is in the .dll format. So the advantage here is the managed code will be managed by the CLR, and it can communicate to an unmanaged code using the marshalling process. So you can say when you work with unmanaged code, you are marshalling the data from your managed application domain to the unmanaged environment. Also, when transferring data between application domains, you are also marshalling the data from your domain to another domain. So sometimes your application may be running in the same machine, or your application may be running in another machine also. So if you are going to have the application running in your same machine, what happens? Your object will be marshaled and it will be transferred to a different domain, but it is running in your same machine. Whereas on the other hand, if you are going to marshal an object from your domain to another application domain, and if the second application domain is running in a different machine, so two different environments you have to handle. What are the two different environments? From one domain to another domain. Not only that, from one machine to another machine. So both can be handled by the marshaled object. So that is where the serializable object role will be coming in. So now if you want to marshal the object, there are two different ways of marshalling the object. One you call as marshal by value, the other one is marshal by reference. And remember, this is similar to your copy by value and copy by reference, what you have studied in your pointer concept. When you have studied the pointers in C and C++, and in Java you might have studied copy by value and copy by reference. In Java we don't have pointer concept, but we have the reference concept. The same way, the two different ways of marshalling objects can be done by value or it can be done by the reference. Now when I say marshal by value, the object sent to another domain will be a copy by serializing the object by serializable attribute. So copy by value madriyana marshal by value. So you are going to send the object from one domain to another domain as a copy, right? How do you do that? You can add the serializable attribute to this particular object. Add the serializable attribute to this particular object and you can send it as a copy. Now this is similar to having a copy of the server object at the client. So what happens? The server will be having a copy of the object and the same copy will be existing on the client side also. So objects that are marshaled by value are created on the remote server and it is serialized into a stream and transmitted to the client where an exact copy is reconstructed. So once copied to the caller's application domain by the marshalling process, all method calls and property access are executed entirely within the caller's domain. So what happens now? Say you have a server object, you create a copy of the server object and you are going to put it in the client side. You are going to put it in the client side. Now whatever functions are called by the client, that will be called in the client's copy and not on the server's copy. That is what you have to understand here, right? So what do you do? Suppose you have, let us assume that you have an object called student. You have an object called student in the server. Now the client needs to operate on the student object. Client needs to operate on the student object. Now what you are going to do using the marshalling process, you create a copy of the student object in the server and give it to the client. So what the client will do? The copy will be stored in the client machine and whatever function call you are going to do for the student. Suppose say you want to read the details of the student or you want to print the details of the student or you want to modify the details of the student. Everything will be happening on the client's object copy and not on the server object. So everything will be executed entirely within the caller domain. Who is the caller domain here? The client is the caller domain. From the server, your server is a separate domain, client is a separate domain. So server creates a copy and it is given to the client. The caller domain will be now the client domain. So whatever you are going to process, everything will happen only in the caller domain. All the functions, everything will be executed only in the client machine. Okay. So your marshal by value objects will be very efficient if they are going to be very small, and it provides a repeated function that does not consume bandwidth. That is the advantage of marshal by value, because every time it need not go to the server and come back, right? Every request is not going to the server. The first request going to the server is to get the copy of the object, and all the other things are being processed only on the client side, so that it increases the performance and it reduces the network traffic. And marshal by value classes will either be marked with serializable attribute to use it with default serialization, or you can implement it with iSerializable interface. So these are the two ways of making an object as a marshal by value object. How do you do that? Either you can create an object, suppose class you are going to create a student class. You will say class student and you will have curly braces inside which you will declare all the data members and you will declare all the method members, right? Now what you are going to do, if you want to make this class student as a serializable object, just above the class student within the square bracket, which you call as the declarative tag, declare it with serializable attribute. Or the other way is, you can say class student, put a colon. What for we are using colon? Inheritance. Inheriting what? Inheriting or implementing the interface. So you can specify the interface as iSerializable. Either you add the serializable attribute just above the class student, or you say class student is implementing iSerializable attribute. So obviously all the objects that you are going to create for the class student will become a serializable object which can be marshaled by value. That is the advantage here. So marshal by value has some of these implications. Let us see what are the implications. First one, the entire remote object is transmitted on the network. So when I say student object, the entire functions, all the data members, everything as a whole will be transmitted on the network. And the second one, some or the entire remote object may have no relevance outside of its local context. For example, the remote object may have a connection to a database or a handle to a window or a file handle, etc. This is one important point that you have to remember. Though you are going to transfer the entire object to the client, sometimes the client may not make use of all the functionalities that are available in the object. But for example, student object, what you are going to do, you are going to transfer from the server to the client. But sometimes the database connection to the student object will be available only in the server, that may not be available on the client side. Or some kind of interoperable feature may be available only on the server, that may not be available on the client. Appo what will happen? Obviously the efficiency of the remote object of using all the functionalities will not be there. And the third point that you have to remember, parts of the remote object may not be serializable. In addition, when the client invokes a method on a marshal by value object, the local machine does the execution, which means the compiled code has to be available to the client. This is another implication that will happen when you are going to use the marshal by value. Sometimes when you are creating the remote object, the remote object is not going to run on the local machine, it is going to run on the client machine. So whatever environment you have on the server, the same should also be available on the client. Only then you can have the complete effectiveness of the remote object. Do you get me? You may be creating an object on the server. Now what you are going to do, you create a copy of this object and you are going to give it to the client. Fine? Okay. Now what is the problem you may be facing? The environment and the application domain of the server may not be the same for the client. If this is the case, whatever compiled code you have generated for the server may not have the same effectiveness on the client also. So these are some of the implications, or you can call it as some of the limitations that you will face in the marshal by value. So because the objects exist entirely in the caller's application domain, no state changes to the object are communicated to the originating application domain or from the originator back to the caller. This is one of the very important point that you have to remember. Since it is going to be marshal by value, whatever state changes you are going to do in the caller's domain. Who is the caller here? Let us assume it is the client application. So whatever state changes are happening on the client object, will not be reflected on the server object. That will not be communicated to the originating application domain or from the originator back to the caller. This is one of the drawback, or you can say it is a disadvantage, or you can say that is the limitation implication that will happen in the case of Marshall by value. So what happens? You may be making lots of changes on the copy of the remote object, the marshalled object on the client machine, that will not be reflected on the server machine. So this is what you call as Marshall by value. So Marshall by value is similar to your copy by value, right? In the copy by value, what you are going to do? One variable will be copied to another location, and whatever changes are happening in the copy will not be reflected in the callers or in the called function, right? The same way, here also in Marshall by value, the server object will be created and it will be sent to the client machine, and there you are going to work completely on the copy of the object residing in the client machine or residing in the caller domain. So what happens? Whatever state changes you are going to do on the caller domain will not be reflected in the application or the original domain. That is what you call as Marshall by value. Now the second one is what you call as Marshall by value, which is somewhat similar to your copy by reference. Pass by reference, pass by value and pass by reference. So Marshall by value is pass by value, whereas Marshall by reference is something similar to your pass by reference. So, and remember, pass by reference is completely different from pass by address. You may be passing an object by address, or you may be passing an object by reference. Both are different. So handling the pass by address is completely different. Handling pass by reference is completely different. Now Marshall by reference is created. In additional this is serialized to the channel. Object reference is created and this is serialized to the channel. What do you mean by that? The reference will be created and that reference will be serialized and that will be sent to the client. What happens in the case of Marshall by value? The object will be created and the copy of the object will be transmitted completely to the client. But here what we are going to do, object reference will be created. Reference will be created and this will be serialized. Your object reference is now serialized and only the reference is going to be transmitted to the client machine. How do you do that? A proxy will be created on the other side to interact with the actual object through this reference. So clientele, what you are going to do, you will have a proxy which will be capturing the reference and that reference will be communicating to the original object. That is the advantage here. So to make it Marshall by reference object, derive the object from Marshall by ref object. What we have done for Marshall by value, you have added the serializable attribute or you have implemented iSerializable. Now, here reference object convert for the reference object, you are going to derive the qualities of Marshall by ref class. Marshall by ref class, Marshall by ref object class is used as the base class for creating any object as a Marshall by reference object. So Marshall by reference passes a reference to the remote object back to the client. Now in the Marshall by reference, the reference is an object ref. This is the class used for the reference object ref class. It will contain the information required to generate the proxy object that does the communication with the actual remote object. Okay, so this is what you are going to transfer. You declare this. If a student object you want to transfer it with Marshall by reference, what you are going to do? You will say public class public class student colon, then you will say Marshall by ref object. Now apart from that, the reference will also be created, and the reference will be of type obj ref, object ref. So on the network, what you are going to do, only the parameters and the return values are passed, and then RMI, remote method invocation, what you have studied in Java, the same concept is applied here. It requires the remote object to call its method on the remote host. As you create a stub and skeleton, so there what you are going to do, you are not going to transfer the object, instead you are going to transfer the reference, and you look up in that particular machine and you find out the reference, and for that reference you are going to create a object. So Marshall by reference classes must inherit system.marshall by ref object. So that is what you have seen here, the public class student colon Marshall by ref object. So that must be inherited if you want to create any object as a Marshall by reference object. So this is one simple application which is given in your textbook. We are not going to discuss this application now. I just want to share the idea of what is Marshall by value, what is Marshall by reference. You can just go through this. You can observe here, if I want to create a Marshall by reference object, you have to use system.reflection, obviously, because all the attributes are available in system.reflection namespace. So you add this, then you are going to create a class. You are going to create the class, and the class is inheriting Marshall by ref object. So whatever object you are going to create for this particular class, this object becomes a Marshall by reference object. Okay. So in the object you can create the domain name. You can create a domain name function. This is a simple function which is going to display something on the monitor, and you are going to have class Marshall, and you can see here I have a main method, and in the main method I am creating an object of AD test. Object of AD test, application domain test. I am creating the object, and I am invoking the method domain name, right? Now apart from this, so this you are going to do in your local machine. Apart from what I am going to do, I am going to create another domain. I am creating another domain. I am creating another domain. Observe this program. And then I am going to create the instance and unwrap the assembly of AD test. So for this particular class, obviously you will, when you compile, an assembly will be created, and this assembly I am going to get the executing assembly. What do you mean by that? Already AD test becomes a managed code, and for this managed code an assembly will be already created, which will be available in your common language runtime. So from there I am going to get the assembly, executing assembly, and I am going to give a name like AD test, right? And this name will be now bound to an object called ADT2. So this ADT2 is now a marshalled object, How do you marshal it? It is marshalled by reference, and this object is now invoking domain name, right? So now what happens? Two domains are running, application domain 1 and application domain 2. Both are running in the same machine. I told you, you can have the domains in two different machines, or you can have it in the same machine. So here what you are going to do, you are going to create an instance and you are going to run it in the same machine. So in the same machine I am having two different domains, and in two different domains I have objects ADT1 and ADT2. So my original object is available in domain 1, and I create a second application domain, and I am passing a reference, right? Here I am passing a reference ADT2, and this reference is again invoking the same method called domain name. Now whatever changes you are doing for ADT2 will also affect ADT1. That is the advantage here of Marshall by reference object. So you just create the instance in another domain as a reference and not as a copy of the object. Whereas if you are going to do it by Marshall by value, before this class you may be adding in the square bracket. You will have a square bracket and you will say serializable attribute. So this is how the marshalling is used in managing the remote object, right? So we'll be discussing remoting in the next class. So for the time being, you have to understand the marshalling is one of the very important process which is used for the remoting also, right? So if I want to have the remoting, you need to have a marshaled object. So we have seen what is marshalling and how do you implement the marshalling. I can implement it in two different ways as Marshall by value and Marshall by reference. If it is going to be Marshall by value, what is the disadvantage there? Marshall by value, whatever changes, state changes that you are going to do in the copy will not be affecting the original object, the server object. Whereas in Marshall by reference, the entire object is not transferred to the second domain. Instead, we are going to create a reference. What is the type of the reference? OBJ ref. OBJ ref is the class which is used for creating the reference, and using that reference you will be transferring only the reference object, whereas you are not transferring the entire object. So whatever changes you are going to do on the referred object will be reflecting on the original server also. So this is what you have to understand about marshalling. So we have just touched upon what is marshalling. Okay. So we'll be discussing what is remoting in the next class.